Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear and listening into another Gamer's Thoughts video. And this time I'm going to be talking about this is something I kind of missed out talking about, and it's the inherent anger that there is for people who are saying that Nintendo is still developing for the 3DS. I don't really think I actually talked about it, and there have been a lot of videos about it since, like, the the many different directs that have happened. I could have sworn, I swear, I heard Nintendo say this at one point or another, that they were developing for the 3DS into 2019. So that's still into next year. Meaning they're probably not likely to discontinue this platform until 2020. That's just the logical sense of it. They're probably not going to be discontinuing this platform until 2020. It is still a huge cash cow for them, and it's still a place for them to make a ton of money. And a lot of people, I guess, figure, what's the point in developing for the 3DS? There are still indie developers that are out that are developing for the PS Vita, even though the Vita is a quote-unquote dead platform. But you don't tell people to not develop. You don't tell those people that are making those games to not develop for the Vita, right? So why not develop for the 3DS, which is still living and breathing and still kicking? Why not develop the games for that too? And I think a lot of people forget that there are a lot of smaller developers, or a lot of smaller a lot of the smaller indie devs that can't really afford to get a Switch at the moment, or they had so much money invested into projects that they had already planned for the 3DS, and they had already worked out how they were going to set these things up, that for them, it wouldn't be a good idea for them to just kill off what they're doing and move everything over to the Switch. And some companies just currently can't afford it. Some. I'm not saying all of them can't, because there are obviously enough prominent indies on the Switch, some of which that are like way outshining a lot of a lot of the AAA developers, and I feel like that's just horrible that you have so many indie developers out now outshining the major AAA studios because they know how to make games better with less money. With less money, less items to be had. And they have to work longer. They have to work on average longer periods of time to get their projects taken care of. But most of the time, indie developers, when they put their stuff out, it's not broken. It plays very well. You can see the direction that they were going, and you can understand what they were doing when they were making their games. And it's all usually put together in a very nice package. And I can't always say that for AAA developers, which is saddening to me. And like in the upper echelon of indie developers are like the mid tier game developers that we used to have, that we're like lacking as far as like bigger publishers and bigger development houses. That's why I so feel like if a lot of these that was my phone. So I so wish a lot of these publishers didn't just like swoop up all of the developers. It was just like it's made things so horrible. Because then the mid tier developers kind of just got washed away because they couldn't keep up with what the AAA developers were doing. And this is when everyone was good. This is when everyone was good to go, and indie was actually like the bottom of the the bottom of the barrel for the most part. But it seems like a lot of things got flip-flopped around. But still, 3DS is still like an extremely cheap platform in comparison to the Switch. You can get a 2DS, like the original 2DS model, for under $100, and then you have access to the full library of 3DS games and the full library of DS games, a lot of the DSi games through the eShop, as well as a bunch of other stuff. So there is really no reason currently to just drop the 3DS. There's too much stuff available to play on it. And it would not be the best idea unless they are really fully sure that they have nothing else that they can do with it. And if they still feel like they can crank out more stuff on it, then they should. Nintendo Indies third party, like Nintendo Indies and bigger third parties, they should, if they feel like they can still put stuff out on it, they should do it. The pricing is better for a lot of people. And honestly, not everybody is really worried about getting the Switch. Yeah, I know that's a surprising thing, but there are just some people who really aren't attracted to the Switch just yet. It could be just because there's not a game that they want on it just yet, or it could just be like the fact that they're losing that additional screen, that additional functionality that the 3DS has, which is something that the Switch does not natively have to it. But I mean, the argument could be made, well, if you had two Switches, you could do it. But guess what? That's $600. You get, again, a 2DS or the Wedge 2DS for under $100. Do you really think that's a fair comparison, price-wise? Especially when the 3DS has, I don't even know how many games you can actually play on this platform. I want to say you're looking in the 2,000 games category somewhere. I'm not exactly certain. It might be way more than that, but still, I mean, just think. And I'm talking about with DS and 3DS stuff included, like not just one of them, but still, either way, it's just not a fair comparison. One has literally, as a value value proposition, the 3DS actually is better than the Switch. I know somebody's going to think that sounds so awkward, but when you think about how much it costs to get into the platform and to purchase the games, even if you're buying brand new, you're saving a crap ton of money in comparison. I mean, okay, let's just do this. Like, we'll say you get a 3DS, we'll round it up to $100. Okay? We'll round it up to $100. That's a third of the price of the Switch. Okay. Then you can just get whatever games you want, like ranging from $20 up to 40. Generally, that's the range I usually see when we're talking about physical games. Digital content is a whole different beast. I'm not even going to worry about that, because you can get games digitally for way cheaper on the 3DS depending on what you purchase. But let's say you take that $300 plus whatever you're going to spend on the game for the Switch. Okay, so we'll say about $360. Just a round number, $360, just to be fair. Okay, with that, you can get your 2DS, your base model. That's $100. Okay, so you have $260 left to get several other games. And we're going to go with the max amount that's usually for a 3DS game, non-special edition, which is $40. How many times does $40 go into $260? It looks like 6 times, and then you have a leftover $20 that you can purchase an eShop card with and still get more games. So you'd have at least 6 physical games, and then whatever you can scrounge up with that additional $20 that you could put on the eShop for that $360. That's a heck of a value proposition. And I can understand that's why Nintendo's keeping it around, because it's still an attractive option, especially for parents who want to get their kids into gaming because they might be gamers themselves. You don't want to go get your kid a Switch. You'd want to get them a 3DS, more than likely the 2DS model. But these are things to consider. You don't want them to just obliterate their handheld market because they have a hybrid system out now. It's not the best business move, especially when that platform is still raking in money for them. It's just not a good idea. So, why are these many different people so agitated that the 3DS is still a thing? Especially when you're told it's going to still be a thing. You don't have to purchase anything for it. And yeah, you don't want the games to be put on the 3DS, you want some of those on the Switch. Well, sometimes that's not how it's going to work, unfortunately. And I'm sorry for that. It's just not how it's going to work. But it's okay. Like, you can still get plenty of good games on the Switch. You can still have plenty of fun and amazing experiences on the Switch. So why be angry that the 3DS is getting some stuff that the Switch won't have? It makes no sense to be worried about it, to be perfectly honest. Or even if there are games that are going to both platforms, again, it's not something you really need to worry about. Like, you're still getting the games that you want to have. You're still getting to be able to enjoy them. Hey, that's on you. That's up to you. Like, but don't worry about what the 3DS is getting, especially if you don't want it. Like, let the people who actually want the platform worry about that. Because there are still plenty of people playing on it. Yeah, maybe it's not as many units that have been sold, because there are a lot of multi 3DS owners. I'm one of them. But still, like, there are a lot of people who still want to be able to play and enjoy their games, and they just want to be able to play on their handhelds. So don't get all agitated because Nintendo's still serving that community. They're still bringing stuff out for that community. There's no reason to be so agitated over it. Like, just let them do what they're doing. Like, they know what they're doing. They've been around for over 100 years. They've seen lifetime. They've seen many people's lifetimes. Like, just chill out. They know what they're doing, and I mean, honestly, I feel like there's going to be a successor to the 3DS one way or the other, but that's not my doing. Okay. But I think I'm done with this. I've made the point I wanted to make. Like, it's not something to be upset about. It really isn't. It's not something to be condemning Nintendo over because they still have two platforms on the market. Like, just chill. But thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me. And until the next time, please enjoy your games and peace out.